What is up, part two?
What is up, everybody? Here for
Part two.
part two of the my wife is peeking at me behind the long title, but we're continuing where we left off. I only really did this so I could interrupt Cooper.
Nah, you're good. What is up, guys? Welcome back.
What is up?
Um, if you guys didn't watch the first part, it's on our channel. Go check that out before part two because you'll be very confused. But for those who have watched, it's been a whole week. So let's recap a little bit. Um, this man's freaking out because his wife is peeking around the corners at him, and it started off friendly, but now it's weird. It's really weird.
And that's all the recap you get.
But here we go, diving in deep. Let's get back into this amazing story.
I tried to sleep on their sofa, but my brain wouldn't let me sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face staring at me from inside the closet. Knowing she'd been in there for with me the entire time made my skin crawl. She never left the fucking bathroom at all. Instead, I slipped in, or I, oh, she slipped inside the closet and slammed the bathroom door shut to fool me. The mere thought of going back gave me anxiety. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Chris ended up giving me sleeping pills, or a sleeping pill, so I was able to get a little rest. My sleep was filled with terrible dreams, like Cooper's, all of Lynn's smiling face. I woke up just as the sun started to rise. My sore body ached from the sofa, and I felt drained. I knew I had to call Lynn at some point, but didn't know what to say to her. I wouldn't be going home unless she gave me her word that she was never, she never do any more creepy shit. I just wanted my wife back. Her normal, serious self never looked so good to me. I was contemplating calling her and telling her that when what the hell? When that familiar feeling came over me, I was being watched. I stared at the ceiling, my heart in my throat. I didn't want to look away from. I'm sorry. I didn't want to look away, but the longer I ignored the feeling, the worse it got. My eyes drifted from the ceiling on their own. Her face was pressed up against the window beside the couch, staring down at me
Oh
with the
God.
same gaping smile. Drool dripped down her lips, leaving two long streaks on the glass. I didn't know how long she'd been there, but something told me she'd been there for quite a while, possibly all night. I didn't
Ugh.
bother screaming. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, just what the hell? That's
Yeah,
F.
no, that's. See, okay, that makes me think maybe he's imagining this. What if, like, his girlfriend is dead and he's, like, plagued by her memory or something and it's just, like, corrupted? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
Maybe
mean,
this sounds like. By the time we get to this end of the story, what I'm saying is going to be complete bullcrap, but
it's gonna be a big twist that we didn't expect, but
yeah, most likely.
I'm on the verge that this is a whole different entity, and because Lynn wasn't home, uh, this is the entity following him right now, trying to get to him. Which I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure out why it hasn't just killed him yet. Maybe it has to like full fear, and hey, he
like
has to give him up.
psychologically fuck you up completely. Yeah.
Yeah, or he has to like willingly give himself. Like
Hmm.
fuck it, like fine, whatever. I don't know. It's so far I would call my brother down to be like, hey, look at this bitch. Shit. Look at this shit. Which I'm sure we'll get. I mean, she shouldn't run away. If she runs away, could you imagine? You call your brother down, and he's like, "What?" And he points, and she's gone, right? But
Yeah.
like, imagine they're on a cul-de-sac, and she's like, "No, no, no, just look out the window," and she's running like halfway down the cul-de-sac.
It's just like
She's like,
just fucking booking it.
"They can't see me." Oh Jesus. Yeah, that's a no bueno for me. I'm not going home after that.
Yeah, that's creepy.
All
Huh.
right.
Excuse me. I didn't bother screaming though. Though I was afraid. Anger trumped any fear I felt at that moment. I jumped up from the couch and pounded my palm against the glass. Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home! I shouted. Now. She didn't move, and her ghastly expression never changed. If anything, her smile only grew, as if she had never been more elated. I could hear Chris and his wife moving around upstairs, as if Lynn could hear them from her own place outside. Hear them from her place outside. Her head twitched slightly in their direction. What?
Wait.
And she began to close her mouth slowly. Chris called my name from upstairs, obviously concerned. I turned to see him and his wife Rebecca hurrying down the steps. When I turned back to the window, Lynn was gone. The only sign she had been there were the two streaks of drool still dripping down the glass. I was
100%.
thinking for a second. I was like, what happens if like the brother's like Chris, and then they both run down the stairs, him and his wife, and then they're both smiling at him? I was like, that would be nuts, dude.
I'd go away. Yeah, no. So she, that's the same predicament. I'd be like, go outside with me right now and try to find her running down the street.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Because I mean,
she's just like hiding behind the trash can in the front of the house.
because in
Like,
that moment you have, unless it's like an entity to where she flew away, you have at least a minute to get outside to look for her to run away.
yeah, but
Depending
then
on
it's
the
like
type
for
of,
him, obviously he's not going to want to. But
yeah,
like,
no, for
yeah,
sure. But with
but
your
it is
brother,
daytime, so
yeah, with your
yeah.
brother, you'd think you'd feel more confident and all that. But I don't know. All right, let's see if he can. Let's see if Chris will help him kill his wife.
I tried explaining to Chris and Rebecca about waking up to see Lynn watching me through their window. They were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? Chris and I went outside to this to spot in front of the window. Oh, sorry, to the spot in front of the window. But there were no footprints in the dirt, just a slight indent. Animal, probably, Chris guessed. And I didn't argue. He and Rebecca assumed I dreamt the entire episode, but they didn't understand. I'm sorry, but they didn't understand, and I was too tired to explain to them. I called out of work that day and turned my cell off. I didn't want to face Lynn. Just talking to her was too much for me at that point. I really started to believe something was irreversibly wrong with her. That no matter what promises she made, she would never be the same again. The thought saddened me to my core. I cried most of the morning. By noon, I figured I was ready to confront her, give her one last chance to explain herself. I could at least give her that after 6 years, I told myself. I turned my phone on and saw dozens of texts she'd sent, all from all from a seemingly concerned wife. Can we talk? I love you. Please call me. I'm worried. Can you answer? Just come home. If I'll read a little bit longer here.
Okay, no worries.
So the thing is,
It doesn't
like,
like anyone else around him. Or
well, I think the texts and the calls are really from Lynn, but then maybe just this creature is, being weird. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't trust Lynn at all.
yeah, it makes me think that there's two Lyns and one of them is not real.
That
So
that
that's the vibe that I'm getting.
I'm leaning towards that as well because that makes the most sense at this point. It'll be very interesting when we get to that point. But as of right now, yes, there's more than likely two Lyns, 100%.
Excuse me.
You're good.
And more of the same, all the texts telling me she loved me and that she wanted me home, how worried she was. Not a damn one addressing the crazy shit she pulled. Like she hadn't been acting like a character from a Stephen King movie. Or a book, I guess. You can tell I don't read. I went straight for the movies. Even the texts were different. Even her texts were different. She normally texted novels just to tell me to pick up a loaf of bread. You'd think she'd have more to say to me after her bizarre shenanigans. I know it probably seems childish to some of you who are miles away from the situation, but if you saw the way Lynn looked at me, how she scampered away on all fours like some wild animal, grinning at me from inside the closet like a lunatic, then I think you'd find my reaction was warranted.
I would have left after the all running on all fours. That's what I'd call it. I'm calling it there. Like, get the fuck out.
I ended up staying with Chris and Rebecca another night. I didn't wake up. Yesterday until afternoon, and thankfully I didn't see Lynn's face watch me from the window. I don't want to pry because it's not my place, but this fight something that can be is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She made us both a sandwich for lunch, and I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming too nosy. I don't know. She's like a different person, I said, choosing my words carefully. I still wasn't ready for her and Chris to know the full context of the batshit craziness I had been dealing with.
Mm.
People change, Ben. That's his name. We finally have the main character's name. Ben. Maybe it was there before, but I don't remember it.
Nah, this is the first that I'm hearing about it.
People change, Ben, but she's still the same woman you married. Maybe you both just need to talk through your issues, whatever's going on. I'm sure it can be fixed, she said. Ever the peacemaker. I think it's beyond that now. I don't think talking would help. I just don't trust her, I said. The words stung in my heart. I missed and loved my wife, but how could I live with someone like that? Living in constant fear didn't sound too appealing. Lynn loves you. Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed, she said. I don't know about that, I said. Oh, this is a lot of quotes
back
here.
Back and forth right now.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I've never seen her so upset. Very much unlike the Lynn I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. It took a full minute for her words to really sink in, and when they did, I felt dread worming its way through my skin. Wait, what do you mean? You saw her? You saw Lynn? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Rebecca nodded casually, as if that fact wasn't nightmare fuel. Maybe for her it wasn't. She stopped by this morning just after Chris left for work. She said cleaning the plates. She said cleaning the plates from the table. I didn't see her car though. Maybe she took an Uber or something.
Yeah, she definitely fucking flew there.
Yeah, so she got on a private jet. For a 40, she drove to the airport an hour away to have a 40-minute flight.
Yeah, jumped out mid-flight.
like Taylor Swift did that one time. You already pissed off the Taylor Swift fans the one time, so let's go ahead and piss them off again. Beck, what did she say? Did she come inside? I asked, sweat starting to break out from my forehead. I began looking around, examining corners as though a predator lurked behind them. No, she just asked if you were awake yet, and I said you weren't. I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no, just to let you sleep, she said as she washed the dishes. That's all? She didn't say anything else, I asked. No, she looked awful, though, like she hadn't slept in days. I think you should call her.
I wonder why.
I got it. Yeah, right. Maybe because she's been running back and forth 40 minutes away.
I think she's
40 minutes each way.
I'm not gonna lie. I think she's sleeping outside the house, or she's sitting outside the house waiting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Because if like, I didn't see a car, then she's definitely just staying outside the house waiting for him to come out. Ew, that's even worse.
Okay. I got up from the table and thanked Rebecca for lunch. I felt a little bit better at the knowledge at least she hadn't come inside. Still, I needed to double check that the doors were locked. I sat for a while trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't want to go home, but I felt that I owed it to Lynn to help her if I could. Hadn't I sworn an oath of love and honor to love and honor her through sickness and in health? Clearly she was very sick. If she was sick, which I truly believe she was, I had to try to get her the help that she needed. but I didn't even know where to start. I didn't want to call the police. Besides, what the hell am I going to tell them? My wife is peeking at me and that she's being creepy. As bizarre as she'd been, she still hadn't committed any crime. Not yet, anyway. The police would have probably said that it was overreacting, but this wasn't some prank. It felt wrong, dangerous even, like something sinister lurked beneath her smile.
There you go. Now he's thinking reasonably.
Yeah, so but it does sound like he is going to try to go home. But
Should be good.
yeah,
Should be a very interesting conversation that we were about to have with Lynn.
it's going to be a nothing burger. Like there's
You
no
think
ground
so?
that's going to be broken. Yeah, because I again, she probably doesn't realize that she is doing anything wrong. So
Yeah.
or maybe it's like a like a sleepwalking thing.
Ooh, could be.
Because some people just don't know that shit. You know that
True.
they're doing that.
Yeah, true.
Um, I knew as her husband, I was well in my rights to have her committed. Jesus Christ, that's quite the jump. Um, but what if she simply acted normal in their presence? She obviously been able to fool Rebecca into thinking she was just a concerned wife. As long as the doctors didn't find her a danger to herself or others, they'd have no choice but to release her after 72 hours. I felt lost and overwhelmed. So, so I did what any husband in my position would do. I called her mother.
Yo, your daughter's fucked right now.
I called her mother. Let me get in touch with the mother-in-law. I didn't want to, believe me. Her mother, Marianne, yeah, and I were never on the best of terms. We never fought or anything like that. She just wasn't a very warm person, um, and wasn't really easy to get along with. She hardly ever smiled, and when she did, only her lips moved. Oh, sorry, only her lips would move into a thin lipped smile, leaving her eyes blank as before. She gave off this aura that felt like she was permanently on the offensive.
Nice.
Um, I only met her twice, and both times were for such short visits I got the impression she didn't approve of me for her daughter. Lynn always ushered us out quickly, as she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, which I was grateful for. Being in her mother's company felt almost unbearable, like walking on glass. I was glad when we moved 3 states away, so we didn't have to see her as often. I was happy to avoid that woman, but I needed her. I needed her help. I didn't really want to talk to her at all, but I had to talk to somebody or someone and someone who knew Lynn better than I did. So I grit my teeth and did what I had to. Yes, she answered, already sounded irritated. Marianne, it's me, Ben. Do you have a minute to talk? I asked. I could hear her click. I could hear her cluck her tongue in irritation. I'm middle of writing some checks, but if you insist, I suppose maybe I can. I'm in the middle of writing some checks, but if you insist,
An instant chain smoker.
I suppose I can spare a moment.
Yeah, I could.
What
I
is
could see
it
her being
you
a
want to
chain
discuss, Benjamin? Benjamin, Jesus.
Hey.
She said, "Coolly, that's pretty cool." It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely, and I was wondering if you had any idea whether there was something. I was interrupted quickly. It's a bit difficult to follow your rambling, Benjamin. What is that you want from me? She asked. I could almost see her standing there in her thin sweater and slacks, tapping her fingernails impatiently on the table. I wanted to ask if you ever noticed any odd behavior or possibly any mental health issues, I asked. Um, there was a long, uncomfortable pause, and that I could tell was because she was thinking or something. Something else, or sorry, she was thinking or something else. Finally, after a few seconds, she spoke. I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if you don't, but I don't find the humor in it. Now I have to Now I have business to attend to, as I've said. So if you don't mind, she said, but I cut her off before she could get rid of me. Marianne, it's not a joke. I'm seriously concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior has been very erratic lately. I'm very worried about her, and I find as her mother, you should be as well, I said, my frustration evident in my voice. God, I hope this conversation ends soon because I don't want to keep doing this voice. I'm already committed to it, though.
Yeah.
If you're truly concerned, then I suggest you get health professionals involved. I don't know what you expect of me, she snapped. I could tell she was seconds away from hanging up, and for some reason I was very desperate not to let her. I had the feeling that she knew a lot more than she was letting on. Please, if not for me, do it for Lynn, I tried. I heard a faint shaking intake of breath, as if she were trying to hold her steely persona together, but failing. Marianne, and I started.
Ooh.
Benjamin, I don't know how to tell you this. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again, Benjamin. Goodbye. I tried to call out, but she hung up.
Interesting. That's kind of
So,
interesting.
yeah, it does make me think that the mother is not telling everything that there is to say.
More likely. Is why yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, there's definitely something that she knows, but she didn't want to say.
Yeah. Well, would you like to take it for a bit from here?
I can definitely take it from here. I tried to wrap my head around the call and her refusal to help me. Even if she didn't like me, why wouldn't she want to help her own daughter? I couldn't understand that. I tried to replay the conversation, desperate to find something I missed. After a while, I almost gave up until I remembered her last words to me were seek professional help. She'd said those words for a bit of urgency. I could have just been grasping to a straw, but no. I was sure her voice had changed ever so slightly when she said that, as if they were very important. Okay, so she did, like, it was like cryptid, which is weird.
Yeah, she even said it twice, so that's
Yeah.
kind of important.
Uh, what had she meant? I assumed she's been referring to medical professionals, but maybe she was referring to someone else, someone that she did for some reason. She feel comfortable saying directly, or maybe I was just desperate. I waited for Chris to get home, and after a very long and exhausting conversation with him and Rebecca, I convinced him that Lynn truly needed is that word? What is that? Psychiatric help? Yeah, that's it. I didn't tell them everything. I wasn't prepared to go into it yet, but I told them about our last encounter, how she hidden in the bathroom peeking at me from the closet. They were obviously shocked, but thankful they believed me. Oh, thankfully they believed him. Hell yeah. They too just wanted to help her. Still, they didn't think it was all that serious. Weird, maybe, but not dangerous. They just kept saying that Lynn had to be playing some kind of weird joke. Maybe a YouTube. Or maybe for YouTube, Rebecca offered.
Just like here, where we're on
Yeah.
YouTube. You should like and subscribe.
If only half-heartedly.
You
Chris
should
didn't.
smash that subscribe button.
Yeah, smash it half-heartedly. Chris didn't think we should involve the police just yet. He offered instead to go with me. I readily accepted. He reasoned that calmly talking to her, trying to cahoots her into going willingly.
Cokes, yeah.
Yeah, well, cahoots.
Funny enough, that's how coax is spelled, which is the
Coax?
other type of internet that we deal with. So I read it as trying to coax.
Jesus. Her into willingly was the best resource. I agreed to do his way. At least I wouldn't be going into that house alone. Okay, perfect. I'm glad he's going in with Chris, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Team
good.
Chris. We're Team Chris right now.
Chris is legit.
Chris is probably going to die, though, so
Yeah, probably.
More likely.
He's gonna I'll go check the basement real quick.
and then,
Or he'll be like, we should probably split up, bro.
yo, Lynn's upstairs, but Lynn's also in the basement. I'll check Lynn in the basement.
I'll check the basement, Lynn. You check the upstairs, Lynn.
We drove over this morning just after breakfast. There was no way I was going at night. Smart. When we pulled into the driveway, my stomach began to doing somersaults. Her car wasn't there, but I still didn't let my guard down. Okay, interesting. Yo, 100% she never did come home.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, I say she was never home to begin with.
Yeah, because, she left for her friend's house, and then Lynn, 9 p.m., was there.
Exactly,
then-
yeah, which is what we thought.
And her car's still not back. So I think we're on the right track that she's actually dead. And this entity took over for her. Okay, there we go. In front of the door was ajar, and for a split second, I thought we'd see her eyes staring through the gap. I was shaking and starting to sweat. Chris, however, was fine. He waited for me to open the door, his hands in his pockets like he was going on a fucking stroll through the park. I envied his ignorance. I pushed the door open and was immediately hit with the stench of rot. Chris smelled it too. He walked in the house behind me with his nose scrunched up. What do you guys use to clean the floors around here? Shit, Chris mumbled. Shut up, I said. My eyes darted around for any signs of Lynn. The house was deadly quiet and dark, despite being 10 in the morning. All the curtains were closed up tight. Oh, she's definitely in there. Refusing to allow any sunlight inside. If I hadn't left it just 2 days prior, I'd have thought that the house was abandoned.
I like how when you voiced Ben, you're like, shit up. So
Shit
now
up.
Ben is a southern drawl kind of gentleman.
Yeah, this is in the Midwest.
Yeah. Where some people are country because they want to.
Exactly. Okay. We moved through each room carefully, checking any place that she might hide, occasionally calling her name. Why the fuck are you looking under the couch? Chris asked eventually. Aren't we looking for your wife? He wasn't looking at me like I was a moron. Let's just go upstairs, I whispered. He shook his head but followed me up the stairs to check the bathroom and spare bedroom. On the way up, my shoes crunched over a piece of glass that looked to be littered over a few of the steps. Ooh, is she like home aloning them?
Yeah, there's going to be like a paint can that comes down.
Exactly.
And it's going to be really comical. And Macaulay Culkin's going to
go. That is interesting that glass is over the steps, to be honest. I wonder if that'll be like that's a metaphor, or what is that? What is that called when it's supposed to, like, it'll come back later?
Foreshadowing.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
That is funny. Let's just go upstairs. Okay. I noticed that one of Lynn's in my wedding portraits that hung on the wall along the staircase has been smashed, and the frame hung crookedly. All the glass removed. I stared at the picture, a lump forming in my throat. We had taken the photo just after leaving the church. After saying our vows, she looked so beautiful in the white gown. I looked at Lynn's beautiful face. I never dreamed her face would ever be a source of terror for me. We climbed the rest of the steps and checked the spare bedroom, but it looked completely untouched. I was hesitant to go into the bathroom. My fear from that night coming back to me all at once. Chris noticed, and offered to go in by himself, but I couldn't let him do that. So we walked in together, checking the closet and shower. The bathroom looked as if it hadn't been touched since the night I left. I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes and we'll try coming back tomorrow or something? Chris said. I nodded and went into our bedroom and shoved some clothes into a duffel bag. When I checked inside our closet, I came across the source of smell and gagged. Chris took one look and lost all color in his face. He had to go stand by the stairs to get away from the sight of the smell. I gazed down in shock at what laid in my bedroom closet, soaking in the rug, were at least a dozen eyeballs, all carefully laid out in pairs. Oh my God. Some were as
What the
large
hell?
as a quarter, while others were as tiny as a marble. I stared down at the eyes she'd collected from small animals, and I wondered how she'd gotten them. I shuddered at the thought. Oh my God. Yeah, Lena's dead, bro. Lena's fucking gone. Long gone.
Yeah, she is gone.
What sucks is that you can't even get a divorce unless like you quote her dead.
Jesus. You just have the paralysis demon show up to a court hearing. And it comes
Your
up with an
Honor.
attorney. And the demon's like, but it wasn't me.
Check out my eyeballs.
I want to take the house.
Like, ooh,
I want
Your
my
Honor.
eyeballs back.
I want my eyeballs. You can take the house,
Your
but I
Honor,
want
the
my
eyeballs are mine. They were mine before we got married.
Damn, bro. Oh, here we go. Man, I thought I had it bad with Becca's shoe addiction, but fuck me. Your wife's in here collecting eyeballs, Chris said, gagging. Ben, I think we should go. He called from the hall. I'm getting nauseous. All right, I grabbed my duffel bag and shut the closet door on my new nightmare. I stepped out in the hallway and took a deep breath of air. I couldn't taste the rot on my tongue, and I couldn't help but gag. Who the fuck lines up eyeballs in their closet like that? Chris mumbled. I tried to tell you she needs help, I said. She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist, he said. You coming or what? I can't stand the smell any... Oh, no. His words died in his throat. Oh, no. And his eyes grew wide with fear. Oh, no. Chris... I didn't ask him why. I could feel it. Someone was watching me, and I didn't
What?
think it was the eyes in the closet. I turned around. My eyes slowly scanned the bedroom. Christ! I whispered. Oh, Christ! I whispered as I finally saw that we'd missed under the bed, curled up on her side, watching us with the excitement from a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. No. Yo, do you want to bet money? Yo, okay. We have a few things to guess here. Will Chris
Yeah.
just say deuces and run out, or will he square up like to Lynn?
I feel like they're both going to try to run, but Chris will end up dying.
No, Chris is the funny one. It's always the ones.
Yeah,
who-
well, can we talk about the tonal dissonance of the holy shit? I thought I had a bad with my wife collecting shoes. Your wife is collecting eyeballs. And it's
The
just
fuck
like,
up with that?
no, that's not the proper response. It should be, yo, what the fuck? We need to call the police.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, this bitch is crazy.
It's that, and then as they're about to go inside, where was it?
Oh, he's like,
Uh,
what are you using to clean the floors?
yeah.
Chris's voice changed 4 times in the past 2 minutes.
In front of the door ajar. Chris, however, was fine. He waited for me to open the door with his hands in his pocket like he was going on a fucking stroll.
Fucking stroll through the park.
She held her hands together just under her chin, and they were shaking eagerly. Now that she knew she'd been found, I could hear her quiet noises. I could hear the quiet noises she was making, a sort of hiccuping sound in her throat, as if the excitement was just too much for her, and it was unnerving to say the least. Wide-eyed, that same huge smile. Everything in me told me to run, but I forced it away. This is my wife. No matter how twisted, she was still the woman I married. I had to help her. Yeah, I just found all these eyeballs that she plucked out of the fucking animals. That's my wife, bro. I gotta go help her. No! Get the fuck out.
Collecting eyeballs was the thing we did on the first time we met each other. I was
Remember-
also pulling the eyeballs out of raccoons.
You remember the second pair of eyeballs there? No. That was during our honeymoon. What the fuck do you mean, Lynn? I pulled them for you. Yeah. Lynn, I said softly. She didn't respond, but her head bobbed back and forth in 2 quick little movements as if she was nodding. Oh, okay, so she's good. Baby, I just want to help you, okay? Can you let me do that? I asked. I had taken a single step forward, approaching her like some kind of dangerous animal. I love you, Lynn. I said softly.
I love you.
I love you. Taking another step closer, she let a little tiny moan escape from her wide open mouth. I had to resist the urge to run. Her shoulders were starting to quiver, and her eyes grew as large as a saucer.
Large as saucers, yeah. So like a small plate.
Yo, so she's getting excited. I crouched down so I could see her better. I immediately saw the blood. Her hands were covered in. They trembled more the closer I got, as if she was barely able to contain herself. Lynn, are you hurt? You bleeding? I said. She bobbed her head again, her bloody fingers moving up and down as if playing an invisible piano. They occasionally grazed her chin, leaving smears of blood on her skin. I wanted to recoil in disgust. The smell was coming off of her was revolting. I could feel the vomit trying to climb up my throat. Her lips were dry, stretched thin. Oh, and stretched thin. Blood seeping between the cracks.
Okay. That one got underneath my skin.
Yeah. What's Chris doing? during this whole
The
thing?
gross out like horror doesn't really get to me too much, but it all just kind of depends.
This
so.
is giving me like Evil Dead type of vibe. In a way.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you there.
I knew she wouldn't come out from under there, but I didn't want to leave her in this state she was in. I scooted closer to reach out for her. The excited hiccup sounds get louder, and her hands shook, fingers flexing. It was then that I could see the blood oozing from in between her fingers. My God, Lynn, you're bleeding, I said insufficiently. I reached out.
Instinctively,
I reached out to take her hand, but before I could even touch her, her hand sprung out towards me. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back on my ass. My arm burned. Oh, you're possessed now. And I could see the blood dripping down into the car. Oh, no, she's got a knife, I think. I looked back at
or it's her fingernails.
I looked back at her in shock and saw her grinning madly. Her fingers clenched larger. Oh, clutching a large shard of glass.
Oh, okay. Well, you were right, technically.
Okay, yeah. Okay. You all right there? God damn it, Chris.
Hey, man, you all right there?
Hey, man, you good? You good over there? You need me to kick your wife's ass? I turned my head slightly and nodded at him. No, you're not all right. Your wife just fucking stabbed you after she looks like the girl from The Exorcist. The fuck? You are aware of Stephen King's books. I feel like you should know where you're at right now.
Stephen King's movies.
I turned my head
Because I don't
slightly,
read.
cradling my arm to my chest. When I turned back to face Lynn, I saw that her focus had shifted. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She wasn't smiling anymore either. She was staring past me, her eyes glaring at Chris, the way a hungry lion might stare at an antelope. Her mouth was still hanging open, but it was twisted with it into a snarl. Oh no, Chris. I got to my feet and began to walk backwards down the hall, afraid to take my eyes off of her. Are you bleeding? Chris asked. The moment the words left my mouth, Lynn started fast scooting out from under the bed, the glass shard in still in her fist. Chris, run, go! I yelled. He must have been too afraid to move because a second later, I felt my back bump into him. He was still standing there at the top of the stairs, staring at the horror that was my wife. Lynn had crawled completely out from under the bed and stood in the bedroom doorway. Her face twisted in rage. Her whole body was visibly tense. Blood ran down her fingers and onto the floor. Jesus, Lynn, Chris said, you playing hide and seek?
Jesus Christ.
I reached back and pushed him towards the step. Move your ass, Chris, I said, as quietly but firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in fast, sharp motions and began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider and wider so that her chin seemed to touch her chest. I heard Chris mutter a prayer, and then he was running down the stairs. I stood at the top of the steps, stuck between the love of the woman who clearly needed serious help and self-preservation. Oh, God. I only wanted to help, I said, choking back tears. Her eyes focused on me once again, and she slowly lifted the glass, holding it out in front of her. And then she started sprinting towards me, grinning the utter excitement. Thankfully, my body took over, and I flew down the stairs, skipping 2 or 3 at a time. I made it to the front door before I felt her leap onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck, her open mouth next to my ear, so that I could hear those terrible hiccup sounds up close. I shook her off me, knocking her to the floor. I felt a searing pain in my back. She went back. Back. As she went back, I tore open the front door and bottled to my car. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me redo that sentence.
I felt the searing pain in my back as she went, but I tore open the front door and bolted to my car.
Okay. Chris was standing in the front yard talking on the phone with the police. I didn't say a word. I just ran to my car and jumped in. Chris took the hint and followed me, still on the phone with 911. I watched the rearview mirror. Surely I'd see her there running after us, but I never did. I went straight to the ER and got 11 stitches in my arm and 3 on my back. The police asked a lot of questions and went back to the house to do a search. But of course, Lynn wasn't there. They advised me to stay with a friend or relative for a while and to file a restraining order as soon as I could. But none of those things would matter. Somehow, I just knew. I dropped Chris off at home and went to a motel an hour away. I wanted to put as much distance between me and Lynn as I could. This is where I've been for the last 4 hours. I thought maybe the police would find her. Maybe they'd get her the help she desperately needed. But now, I don't think so. Because 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. I found you. And the picture attached the picture was a dark and the picture was dark and grainy, but I instantly knew what it was. There was no mistaking my wife's eyes. I stared, typing this out immediately after. I don't know what to do. I'm alone and scared, and I can't help but feel that I'm being watched.
That's it.
That is the end.
We don't have there's no explanation.
Nah, damn it. I don't know, to be honest. Was that a nothing burger at the end?
No, because it sets up like some kind of follow-up, but also it's good to leave it vague for the sake of like people's imagination taking over. I don't necessarily agree that he should have left Chris's house. I think he should have stayed there, and they could have
Yeah, no, he definitely Chris saw what happened. I feel like Chris should be like, "Hey, stay with me, buddy." Stay with me, because Chris seemed perfectly fine as she's standing, bloodied up, glass shard in her hand. Hey, Lynn, you playing hide and seek? Like, the fuck?
Yeah, like super comedic about it, but
There's this. It looks like there may be more to the story. Click here to get a reminder to check.
yeah,
back later.
I don't do that. It leads to nothing. So
Oh, that sucks. Also, my Kirsten just got home. Oh God, oof! The mental image of Lynn's face that my mind conjured up. Not loving that. Other than that, what do you think of the story?
great again. I think 8.5 out of 10 for me. Same as last time. You know, we got about halfway through the story, and that's what I rated it in the last episode. So I think it still stays at an 8.5 to me. Maybe 8.5, I guess. I think it it might have lost a little bit of score for the ending being so vague, and I was really hoping to get some kind of clarification.
Yeah,
Um,
they.
when I read the eyeballs, and like the fact, like in the part where she's hiding underneath the bed and Chris realizes it too, my heart kind of sank a little bit. So
The
it's still
eyeballs was the
very
peak.
creepy.
Yeah, eyeballs was definitely peak, and then it just turned into one of those typical chase scenes type of shit.
Yeah,
But of course, call 911, but they don't stick around for 911. They just went to the hospital, it seemed like, or maybe they did, but of course didn't find her. So then it literally went from like, oh, this is a pretty good fucking story to an original type of ending,
hmm
to where it's the typical like, oh, I just got these messages. Oh, I found you, and there's a picture of her. Like, I found you. So we can all assume that Chris is gonna be tormented the rest of his life.
yeah, basically.
I do
But
wish my rating is also an 8.5. One, because it was just this, like how I told you about this morning, how it stuck with me still in the morning, and I had to finish this the next day, which I'm glad we were able to, because I could
yeah,
not wait
yeah,
a week. But good piece of writing right here. Best story on the
yeah,
channel right
great,
now.
yeah. And
Uh,
again, the story link, the Reddit page will be tagged in the description as well. So if you want to
yep.
read it yourself, probably with better reading skills than what we can do, definitely go check that out and show the creator some support. So
Yeah, Malia Girl 1314. Bravo. Fucking good story. Yeah, her links and everything will be in the description below. Go check that out. If you guys enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below if there's anything else you'd like us to read. We're open for any suggestions for sure. Other than that, bravo for our first two-parter. Hell yeah. This will
yeah,
be in
no,
its
that
own
was awesome.
playlist. Other than that, be sure to hit that like, subscribe. We're here for scary stories every Tuesday. Yep, Scissor.com. Go check them out.
Scissor.com, baby. Link in the description. Check it out. New stuff coming eventually. Yeah, check it out. Local,
Perfect.
small business, support local businesses, blah, 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 whatever. It's great. Great quality stuff.
All right, just like that. See y'all next Tuesday or whenever we upload.
Bye.